Hey y'all, it's your captain for all things creative, coming back at you with a new video focusing on cultural appropriation allegations and the band BTS, comprised of Kim Namjoon, Kim Seokjin, Min Yoongi, Jung Hoseok, Park Jimin, Kim Taeyoung, Jungkook, BTS. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you are returning, welcome. Let's get into this video. I will start off by saying I was drafted into the army of BTS fandom by former high school kids that were my students, and I stayed in the army because I do believe that they are the real deal in spite of cultural appropriation allegations, and I will explain why. So first of all, in the case of BTS, is cultural appropriation an issue in the music industry at large and all industries? Of course. In terms of the modern boy band era, New Edition is the blueprint of a lot of what we're seeing now. I think the Jackson 5 would be probably the GOAT of, like boy bands and a lot of what we know now, as pop music and all forms of music really are linked to black music. So everybody these days is making black music, so it's not a matter of, um, you know, who's making it to me, but it's more a matter of why and how it's done. And when you're talking about, you know, cultural appropriation and culture vultures, there are a lot of them, but I think a lot of the conversations in America, especially, are like knee jerk reactions, based on pain, based on just the history of people of color, being taken advantage of and exploited. And because of the, pain around, a lot of people can't, you know, have conversations that aren't, you know, emotionally charged. So I thought, I'd bring in a BBC article that kind of summarizes a lot of the points that I think are important when distinguishing, well, is this a culture vulture situation? Because obviously, cultural appropriation is happening. It's a matter of basically destiny, especially if you're talking about music, because of the impact of Black artists and the fact that everybody's making Black music now. So, how do we, navigate and decide, when too much is too much and when people are being cultural vultures? So, this article, which is in the link tree, basically says how many would have known that in the past and even now, the originators of the cornrows, the headdresses, the bindis would have been persecuted for wearing them. In the 2018 BBC Stories documentary, Cultural Appropriation, Whose Problem Is It?, interviewee Aisha says, when you're a part of a society that has told you how you look is wrong, for someone in that society to say, well, I'm going to do it because it's fashionable and it's a music festival, so who cares? It's very ignorant to the people who have had to go through these things. Interviewee Carisha adds, when one racial group in their history is taken from a different racial group, then the future was the same thing. It's like a slap in the face. So again, um, this idea, that when marginalized groups especially do something, it's criticized and denigrated, but then when the dominant group finally, accepts it and starts doing the same thing, then it's like, you know, emotional and really traumatic, to a lot of people. And again, this article, it's more centered on fashion, but applies to all art, especially music. And it continues by saying issues of respect and of concern for other cultures, of which Neeson's paper is such a nuanced expression, has become more marked in a world still battling a global pandemic, jolted awake by Black Lives Matter, and damaged beyond recognition by global warming, itself directly caused by consumption. Within this context, many are questioning whether the extractive model of infinite growth, born from a history of colonial exploitation, is all it's cut out to be, whether it may, in all that matters, actually be one of the worst ways of moving forward. Attention is turning with a renewed humility to indigenous practices tried and tested for millennia for stewarding the earth, and I'm adding its resources, including art and music. So it continues, and it's turning toward other practices of organizing communities, of exchanging skills, and of making clothing may have to offer as alternatives to the hyper-industrial, hegemonic Western fashion, and music industry. The Black Lives Matter movement has led to a mass realignment and re-education and understanding of how our colonial past and empire building was built on the exploitation of people and theft of indigenous land and resources, says Blanchard. There's a new awareness of cultural imbalances and the inequalities within the fashion industry, where £1,000 dress has been made by garment workers who are not paid a living wage, where a motif has been taken from a community's cultural textile heritage without permission. So, again, I believe more people take offense when, like, dance moves and styles and art, are taken without being attributed to the people it was taken from, and the people who originated it are being exploited and denied compensation and access to the same opportunities. And lastly, it says rock and the artists, um, rock ads. Appropriation usually involves the removal of origins and heritage and a repurposing in a way that only benefits the end company. Without dialogue, this can eradicate ancient wisdom and heritage whilst also removing income streams and livelihoods. A collaboration is authentic connection built up over weeks or months, but I believe that if designers or artists, I'll say, and moguls set measurable impacts which directly involve and consult artisan groups, collaboration can be a powerful tool of amplification and preservation. Ultimately, at the heart of collaboration is the core belief from both parties that the outcome is stronger. And for me, in the case of BTS and the talented singers and dancers involved, I do believe that the way that the music and art has transcended boundaries of language and country and culture is very important, and it does spread the impact of the Black artists, that these types of music expressions and dance expressions just started from, so exhibit A in like when there is not genuine or great collaboration to me would be like the Kardashians. They're like classic culture vultures. They really be acting like they invented like nails with piercings on them when Janet Jackson did it first, or you know, specifically with like Kanye West era Kim Kardashian, you definitely saw her using him to get into fashion circles. She had a more I would say person of color type aesthetic, the dark hair, dark eyes, darker skin, the big butt, all that stuff like that. But then when she was done with him, you see, she got her businesses, her billionaire status. So the butt disappeared, the blonde hair came back, discarded, you know, Kanye. And again, it's like the idea of forgetting, the people and communities that, you know, originated and really are responsible for your success is really what I think rubs people the most the wrong way about culture vultures. And examples where, it actually has been done tastefully and, people actually appreciate the collaboration and exchange, I think would be like Tina Marie, for example. If you ask most people in the Black community who appreciate music, Tina Marie is an example of an authentic person who's not a person of color. She's like Caucasian, never denied it, but she was able to collaborate with Black artists in such a way that was so authentic, so respectful, always attributing, the creators, writers, producers she collaborated with, and did it tastefully. And even Pink in some ways, because when she first came out, she definitely had a Black aesthetic. She was always on BET and things like that. But again, her talent, the people that she worked with, and I think a lot of fans understand that, again, everybody's making Black music, and like she also added her own artistry to it. And in a lot of ways, as she evolved over time, her same sound, which is definitely an R&B sound, she made it her own and had a lot more like crossover and pop and even rock songs, that again still have the roots in R&B, but it's good collaboration that made great timeless music. And I think the same is the case for BTS. I think in the end, music industry is stronger, and the positive messages and the impact that they have on fans is important to note. They have always attributed, their influences to Black artists, and they have been very great advocates for like mental health, and a lot of their music encourages, you to have self-esteem and, to seek community and care. And if you just listen to different songs like even like Idol or um like Dionysus, it's like the way that they promote, self-esteem, and then have developed their own sound, acknowledging their roots, in Black music, is very, very profound. So their songs, I think you gotta give them a chance. Listen to like, you know, Dope, Mic Drop, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Boy with Love, DNA, Idol, all those songs. I think you will become, convinced that they're not just cultural vultures. They have always, attributed again their inspirations to different, Black artists and dancers. And like in the case of Jungkook now, who has a lot of great singles, he collaborates with Black artists like Lotto. Was on his last single, Seven, which is like in the grown folks music territory. He's really um, someone who I think is super talented in R&B, and his falsetto is amazing. Like I think the only person falsetto I've liked as much as Maxwell, but Jungkook's falsetto is nice. And that new single 3D, he gives me like 2000s just R&B vibes. And again, he's collaborating with Black artists and um, a lot of his writers and his team are being compensated. So again, it's like not a culture vulture situation. And then I guess in terms of my bias, I guess it would be V Cook, because I think Taeyong or V also has a lot of good, nice R&B music. His voice is very like more velvety and deep than Jungkook, but I think they're kind of like a Korean version of New Edition in the sense that between the rap line and the singing line, they have so much talent. Like they're one group, just like New Edition had like Belle Biv DeVoe and like Bobby Brown, and like, you know, they have done spin-off records. Same thing with BTS. Like, they have very powerful songs as a group and an individual. You can see their talent, and there have been solo projects by all of them that have done really well. Most recently, RM, Jungkook, and V, they all have really, really great music that's solo and just shows their talent. So in the case of BTS, I don't think it's cultural appropriation in the sense of, you know, the culture vulture allegations. I am biased, I will say, because I admitted before, I had a lot of students that put me on to BTS, and I actually did like their music. But again, everybody's making Black music. Collaboration is, I think, the key to preserving the the contributions of the Black artists that, you know, paved the way for music as we know it today. And, you know, just in terms of the world appreciating, you know, R&B and rap, BTS has done a great job being ambassadors, and I salute them. So I say, in the case of BTS and cultural appropriation allegations, BTS is innocent. So please like, share, and subscribe. If you like the content, I'm going to put the BBC article in the description box. And remember, you're the master of your fate and the captain of your soul.